Hey everyone, it's RuPaul's Drag Race halftime headliners and episode All-Stars. Man, this is all out of myth. All-Star 6, episode 4. Took me forever to get through this episode because I volunteered to set up for a rock show, and by a rock show I mean a gem and mineral and rock show, not music, but you should have guessed that by now, having known me. So we go through and we see that the Silky and the Carria vote was very close, unlike a few other. What I can guess from this is that ahead of time they were told to pick someone from a halftime show that they could potentially do, because they all had costumes, they all had already picked someone. I guess this is sort of like a redo of the earlier season where people felt like they got an unfair character. So this time they had to pick ahead of time, and then they had voiceover done in the style of, or using RuPaul's music, which is no surprise. And everyone, but they got to pick their own character. So Pandora did Carol Channing, Jan did Gaga, Eureka did Madonna, Trinity did Beyonce, Yara did Shakira, Ginger did Fergie, Raja did Diana Ross, Scarlett did Katy Perry, Kylie Sonique did Steven Tyler, and Akaria did Prince. So there's a lot of talk about like these being scary choices, but you only have a list of people who've done the halftime show. And all of those, so many of those characters, none of them are really safe. You don't have like a, I'm surprised, I didn't know that Carol Channing never did it. Apparently she did the very first halftime show. So everybody has these nerves. Beyonce has been a failure for a lot of people. Gaga has been a problem for a lot of people. Madonna has been a problem for a lot of people. Carol Channing for Pandora was a risk because she did Carol Channing in her original Snatch Game and did amazing. And so there's this element of like, we've seen this before. But my point is like, this isn't a Snatch Game. This is a choreography lip sync. So it's a little different than a Snatch Game, and so the risks are a little different, but everyone is very well aware of it. Jamal Sims is going to do the choreography, which is actually a lot harder than I realized it was going to be, because you don't just have to do the choreography, you've got to do the choreography in the style of the person, which I only realized how hard that was going to be when he was doing Jan's choreography, because of the way Gaga has this very distinct style, and I didn't even realize that until he was talking and he was comparing the difference between like doing the choreography and doing it Gaga style, and I was like, oh, this is why I'm not a dancer, because I didn't make that recognition beforehand. So one of the nice things that I'm enjoying about this season is we're seeing a lot more friendship. This is a little interlude where you see Trinity and Akaria, and I think Raja, it was, talking about how Trinity's never going to be betrayed, and they're laughing and they're joking. And even when Jan was like, at the beginning of the episode, was like, oh, I wasn't really at the bottom, everyone's like, oh, you were so in the bottom. Like, it wasn't this really tense moment like, who do you think you are? It was very much like, no, girl, you were in the bottom. Like, nice try, but you were in the bottom. And it was that like teasing where even when Jan gets, maybe there were moments where she was like, I'm the one to beat, no one's really bristling at that. And I like that. I like to see them all at their best version of themselves, because to me that's fun. I think that's interesting. So that is a real joy in this season, is that at least in this episode there was this lightness to it. There was this like, we're having fun. Trinity's talking about how in her season she didn't really make friends, but it's different this time. We kind of see everybody sort of getting along while still being incredibly competitive, and I think that is peak competition reality for me, is like, we get along, we're having fun, we're joking around, but we're still deadly serious. And you know, people say, well, you need the drama. The drama can come from the performance. That's my opinion. Can come from that. So anyway, we get into the performance. I have very few notes with the performance because I felt like everyone was so solid that I would consider this a show that we could see on Vegas. And what I mean is, it's not like, a lot of times you're like, ooh, ooh, ooh. I didn't think that. Of course, choreography and even lip syncing is not my specialty, is not something that I say that is this huge standout. So I wrote okay for almost everyone. And that's not like, okay. It's like, okay, 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 we got it. Like, we did it. We got it. I thought Scarlett's choice to do the shark head as part of her bit was very cute. I put a note that Kylie Sonique did a very good job of having boy bod for Steven Tyler. She mentioned that she like taped her boobs kind of into her armpits, but she did a really good job of having the open shirt but having it taped in such a way where it really gave the illusion of boy body. So I thought that was a really good choice. I did write that I thought Jan really captured that sort of like kind of weird Gaga vibe. Did really well. I thought that the prince was a little masculine in the feminine in the face, and I kept trying to look into what it was because it was even like the hair, and I thought, well, I just couldn't quite nail down how. But Prince seemed a little too feminine, and it wasn't quite. I mean, now I know that Prince as a character is not necessarily super masculine, but I've never looked at Prince and thought he played with gender, but never in a way that was like. Anyway, the judges agree there was just something a little tiny bit off. The Carol chanting was okay to me, and then Beyonce really did look and move like her. Very impressive, and the judges more or less agreed. So Scarlett's Katy Perry with the shark head, Raja's. I just want to make sure I get this right. Raja's Diana Ross, okay, which I thought was good. Kylie, Steven Tyler, and Pandora's Carol chanting were all safe. I honestly went into it. According to my notes, I did catch that the Prince and then was a little low. I didn't catch that. It was interesting because they clearly, you can see the COVID, because the dancers were far away. The main people were either up on a box or the dancers were far away and they had masks to kind of match. But it was interesting. I don't think that it really took away from the performance. It was a different kind of performance. But anyway, so we ended up with... I assumed Ginger was in the bottom. It was such an okay review that it didn't... And then the outfits for me were... I didn't even really write down anything about the runway because it was just okay for me. They felt that the Prince just barely missed being so cool. They felt that Yara lost it in the face. Like the body was good, but the face wasn't connecting with the performance. And then I believe Ginger was also in the bottom, but was safe. The Madonna Eureka's... Madonna was high, the Gaga was high, and then the Beyonce was high, with Jan winning. Totally fine with that. That was great. Hopefully that'll kind of get people to feel like, okay, Jan's being seen. There's been a lot of discussion online around, like, I think that sometimes the judges sleep on Jan, but I don't necessarily feel that, but not in such an important way where I'm like, they're doing it on purpose. Anyway, Yara and Akira in the bottom. They've both been in the bottom before. Yara won, and then the bottom, and then Akira. Yara ends up going home as she walks off stage. She says, F you all, and Michelle kind of winces, and RuPaul laughs, and I had a hard time telling as to whether that was meant to be a joke or serious. And she repeated it in her exit interview, and so I think it was serious. It's hard to tell with her. It's hard to tell in general whether, like, you mean it as a joke, but you're so upset it comes out not. I think it was a joke. Jessica Wilde, who was on season 2 with Yara, was the lip sync assassin and sends her home. She won. I didn't think that Jan did so amazing or so bad. I was kind of surprised. I thought Jan was going to win, but we'll find out. I'm interested to hear more maybe next week why people voted for Yara. I don't feel... A lot of them felt like Akira wanted to be there more. At least when they're talking. Yara had a high point, but even that first win, I was like, okay. RuPaul thought it was really funny. I didn't necessarily think it was that funny, so I'm okay with it. But I would say across the board, this is such a strong group that we're really splitting hairs here. No one did badly. No one did terrible. I'm not happy to see Yara go. This is not one of those cases where you're like, finally. So anyway, I tried to get my, I don't know if it was my internet's really bad or if the app was having problems, but it took me so long to watch this episode because it kept stalling out. So anyway, if you have thoughts, hit me up in the comments. Bye.